The lights dimmed, casting a hush over the massive auditorium. Thousands of hopeful faces stared at the stage, but for one young girl, none of that mattered. Her name was Lily, and she wasn't here for fame. She was here for her mom. Back home, her mother lay in a worn-out bed, her breath shallow, fighting an illness that doctors said required a miracle, or at least a sum of money Lily couldn't possibly imagine. This talent show, with its grand prize, was her only shot. It was her last hope. Clutching a crumpled photo of her smiling mother, Lily took a deep breath. Her heart hammered against her ribs, each beat a frantic prayer. "For you, Mom," she whispered into the darkness, her voice trembling but resolute. As Lily stepped into the spotlight, the sheer size of the audience hit her like a physical blow. The three judges at the long table seemed miles away, their faces impassive and intimidating. One in particular caught her eye. A man in a perfectly tailored suit, his expression a mask of cool indifference. He was Alexander Croft, the self-made millionaire, a man whose name was synonymous with success and ruthless business decisions. He looked at her not as a person but as another contestant, another number in a long line of performers. He had no idea that the frail girl standing before him was a living, breathing piece of his own forgotten past. Lily's hands trembled as she gripped the microphone. She closed her eyes, shutting out the intimidating crowd, the cold glare of the lights, and the stone-faced judges. She pictured her mother's face, the gentle warmth in her eyes, the lines of worry etched by years of hardship. The first notes of the melody, a song she had written herself, flowed from the speakers. It wasn't a pop hit or a power ballad. It was a lullaby, the same one her mother used to sing to her, but with lyrics she'd penned in the dark, lonely hours by her mother's bedside. Her voice, though fragile at first, began to swell with emotion. It was a voice that carried the weight of struggle, the ache of a childhood spent in poverty, and the raw, desperate love for a parent slipping away. She sang of scraped knees and empty cupboards, of a mother who made magic out of nothing, who spun stories to fill their bellies when food was scarce. "You painted rainbows on my walls when all I saw was gray," she sang, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. "You gave me wings to fly so high, and taught me how to pray." Across the auditorium, a profound silence fell. Phones that were once held up to record were slowly lowered. People leaned forward, captivated not by a polished performance, but by the raw, unfiltered soul being laid bare on stage. Every note was a story, every line a confession of pain and gratitude. The song was a love letter to her mother, a testament to her strength, a desperate plea to the universe to not take her only anchor away. At the judges' table, the usual air of detached professionalism had vanished. The other two judges were visibly moved, their expressions softened with empathy. But Alexander Croft remained still, his face a storm of conflicting emotions. He'd built an empire by shutting down his heart, by burying the past so deep he'd almost convinced himself it never happened. But this song, this melody, it was a ghost from a life he'd long since abandoned. It was the lullaby he'd heard once, a lifetime ago, sung by a woman with eyes like wildflowers and a smile that could light up the darkest room. As Lily's voice soared into the chorus, she sang a line that shattered his composure. "A locket round my neck, a broken half you gave, a promise whispered, I'll be brave." Alexander's hand instinctively went to his chest where, hidden beneath layers of expensive fabric, he wore the other half of that very locket, a cheap, tarnished trinket he could never bring himself to throw away. It was the only remnant of a youthful romance of a girl he'd loved and left behind when ambition called his name, a daughter he never knew existed. His mind reeled. The timeline, the girl's age, the song, it all clicked into place with a horrifying, gut-wrenching clarity. The face of the woman he'd left behind, Sarah, flashed in his mind. This girl, Lily. She had Sarah's eyes. His eyes. The walls he'd so carefully constructed around his heart crumbled into dust. The millionaire, the titan of industry, was gone. In his place was just a man, a father, staring at the daughter he never knew he had. A daughter who was singing her heart out to save the woman he had abandoned. The final note of the song hung in the air, shimmering with pain and love. Lily stood, breathless and emotionally drained, her gaze fixed on the floor. The silence was broken by a single person getting to their feet, then another and another, until the entire auditorium was on its feet, a thunderous wave of applause and cheers washing over her. But Lily barely heard it. Her eyes were locked on the judge's table, where Alexander Croft was now standing, his face streaked with tears he didn't bother to wipe away. He stumbled from behind the table, pushing past security who tried to stop him. He walked onto the stage, moving as if in a trance. The crowd fell silent again, confused and intrigued. Alexander stopped a few feet from Lily, his voice thick with emotion. "That song, your mother, is her name Sarah?" Lily's eyes widened in shock. How could this powerful, wealthy stranger possibly know her mother's name? She could only nod, her mind racing. Alexander took another step closer, his own hands trembling as he reached into his shirt and pulled out the broken half of the locket. It was identical to hers. "My name is Alexander," he said, his voice cracking. "And I think I'm your father." A collective gasp swept through the audience. Cameras flashed, but the moment felt intensely private. Lily stared at the man, at the locket, at the raw agony and regret in his eyes. Years of unanswered questions, of a nameless, faceless father, of a void in her heart she never knew how to fill, all came rushing to the surface. Tears streamed down her face, not just of sadness, but of shock, confusion, and a tiny flickering spark of hope. He closed the distance between them and wrapped his arms around her. "I'm so sorry," he sobbed into her hair. "I'm so sorry." For the first time in her life, Lily felt the embrace of a father. It was overwhelming, and in that moment, all the years of hardship and longing poured out of her. She clung to him, the man who was both a complete stranger and the missing piece of her life. The story became front-page news. But for Lily and Alexander, the world outside faded away. He immediately arranged for the best medical care for Sarah. When she was strong enough, he went to her, not as a millionaire, but as the boy who had loved her and made a terrible mistake. There were tears, recriminations, and years of pain to unpack, but beneath it all, the love they once shared had never truly died. Forgiveness, slow and fragile, began to bloom. Lily didn't win the grand prize that night, but she won something infinitely more valuable. She won a future for her mother. She won a family. She found her voice not just to sing, but to heal. The melody that had started as a desperate plea in a lonely room had become an anthem of reunion, a testament to the incredible, mysterious ways fate works. It proved that music could bridge any distance, heal any wound, and lead a family, broken by time and circumstance, back to the arms of each other. And for the first time, their small family of 3 was finally whole, their future a symphony waiting to be written. Thank you so much for watching this story unfold with us. If it touched your heart, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss our next story. We'll see you soon.